Welcome to Business Authority Radio, bringing you insights from today's thought leaders, professionals, and influencers. With your hosts, Neil Howe and Craig Williams.
Hello and welcome to the show. This is your host, Neil Howe, and today my special guest is Don Moore. Don is the president of Mujer Tech Solutions. Mujer Tech Solutions was founded in 2004 and is located in Birmingham, Alabama. And Don helps small to mid-sized businesses around the United States to leverage the incredible power of the internet by providing custom web solutions and cutting-edge search engine technology. Welcome to the show, Don Moore.
Thank you, Neil. Glad to be here.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself, Don. What got you going in this business, and ultimately we'll get to what kind of clients that you help.
Okay, be happy to. My entire career has been in technology. I was an electrical engineering graduate and went to my first jobs with IBM selling small business computers, and have been involved in a lot of different types of businesses over the years, but technology has always been, I guess, the cornerstone. We had left IBM in 2004 to start an online storage company, and during the growth of that company, decided to do some different work with websites, and in 2008, 2009 started really going hard in that particular area, and have done several hundred websites for a variety of clients around the U.S. and a couple overseas also.
Excellent. So what would you say is your client base right now? You know, what kind of clients do you service? Have you found any niche that you like to do business with?
We do small to mid-sized companies, typically privately held, that need to leverage the power of the internet. We've done a lot of construction, manufacturing, real estate, things that we're familiar with, and then those end up wanting to grow typically, and then they're also got a lot of interest in search engine optimization, and that's become a real key item for a lot of people.
Yes, search engine optimization is something that almost every business needs, especially a local kind of business. So tell us about some of the problems that these businesses are encountering and why they're coming to you for help.
Most of the clients we have at this stage of the game have an existing site. It may be several years old and just need to be updated. As Google has influenced the world, that you have to have several characteristics of the site. If it needs to be mobile friendly, many of the older sites are not. That means that a mobile friendly site, as opposed to shrinking when you view it on a mobile phone, it stacks. And so on a site that's 4 or 5 years old, that has to be reprogrammed to make that happen. A lot of clients don't have much of a social media presence. They may be satisfied with their website, but they may want help setting up social media such as Facebook for business, Google Business, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. We can handle all of those items and have partners who can create social media posts also. Local search has become very important. Most people nowadays don't pick up a printed directory, but they look online. So if you're familiar with Google's map pack, you know that only the top 3 businesses appear in the base map. We can make sure that if a client set them correctly for Google My Business and Bing Business, Yelp, big data aggregators and directories, then that tends to move them up in the map pack, which is very important.
Definitely. Those are, 4 big things that, every business, especially a local business, needs to be thinking about. Talk to me first about the websites, because mobile has become, the key component here. More people are searching, I think, on mobile devices now than they are on the actual desktop.
We've found that if you do, we put Google Analytics or some type of analytics on all of our sites that we do. And when you go back and look, you'll find oftentimes it's more than half the searches for a client do come off of a mobile device. So a mobile-friendly site is more likely to retain a site visitor. If it's really small, it shrinks up, you may go to another site. And then also Google is viewing mobile-friendly as a ranking factor in their ranking algorithm.
So as far as a local construction business is concerned, what are the major problems that they might be looking at that you can help them with?
After once you've updated their site, depending upon the size of the company, they're really wanting to establish with their client that they've got authority in what they do. So they'll oftentimes want to be able to go back in and update with recent projects, details about projects they've worked on, so somebody can go search and see if what they're offering is relevant to what they're wanting to to purchase.
So how would and construction might not be the best example, but maybe real estate or one of the other industries that you work for, how do they show up in the search engines when somebody is searching for them?
That's a good question. There's just a number of things that go into making a website rank. Again, at the end of the day, the website wants to be authoritative, have relevance to what somebody's looking for, and be trusted. So if you start at the basics, like a building, you think of building a website, it's kind of akin to a construction project. You have to have a good design, and we will start out with a client with a design just like an architect might, where you're looking at the layout, your colors, your flow of your menus, menu items, and the content. And once you've got an idea how that's done, building the site out, then you want to build it in a search engine friendly manner, which means it's architected correctly for current web guidelines. It's got correct title tags. The images have what are called alt tags, which are descriptive. So you want a good foundation that you have good content in. Most people now are using content management systems. There's three big open source systems. One's called WordPress. That's arguably the most popular. Joomla, Drupal. They all have varying capabilities depending upon what problem somebody wants to solve.
And with those different CMS services, does one service like WordPress deal with a certain type of business, and then Joomla or Drupal deal with a different kind of business? Yeah,
if you look at it, that's a good question. WordPress started as a blogging platform. Mm-hmm. It's rapidly expanded where a lot of people use it for a lot of big businesses. Some of our clients are more comfortable with WordPress. Joomla, if you think of it as circles, Joomla probably sits in the middle. It's for a bit more complex tasks. There's things that you can do in Joomla that WordPress is not well suited for. And Drupal's even a third level deeper, typically requiring a more skilled person to make updates. But all of them are intended to have simple content changes made. So if it was a construction person or real estate or engineering, whoever, if they wanted to come in and make changes to, let's say, their staffing directory or recent projects or things like that, those are all pretty easily updated by somebody that's not technical. Mm-hmm.
Very good. Now, talking about search engine optimization, which is a massive industry. Everybody's trying to find their way to that first page of Google where people are searching. What kinds of things are you able to do for them to increase their search engine results, and how long does that take?
If you've got two kinds of search results, you have organic results, and those are the results that come just from the natural order of the way a site's laid out, the content, the backlinks to the site. Then you have paid results. We focus more on the organic results. Paid results you can get immediately if you hire somebody. And we do some search engine marketing, that's called, where if you want to rank for a certain word or a keyword phrase, that's pretty easy to set up, and you can come up in the top 1, 2, 3 of the paid results immediately if you want to. The organic can take longer. The organic typically is a bit stickier. Once you're ranking organically, it tends to hang in there better, although as the search engine algorithms change, that can knock you back down pretty quickly. But it ends up, many years ago, people would fool the search engines, and they've gotten smarter. So you just got to have good content, and it's kind of on-page SEO is what your site says to the world about you. It says, hey, I'm Neil, and I'm great because I do these things. I have these skills. That you have to have a skilled website developer lays the site out so those things can be communicated well to the engines. And then your off-page SEO is what somebody says about you. That might be a backlink to your site. That's if you've got a good article or some piece of content that people want to share with their friends. So it's multi-pronged. You have a lot of different things, and you have to. We say that website development is a project, and SEO is a process. It's a continual thing, and we do have some clients where we've gotten them up, ranking with good content. They're in the directories really well, and then they stop, and indisputably after a few months, their rankings will start to slip unless you keep a little bit of pressure on that, keeping your content relevant and fresh.
Right. So, it's something that you got to continue doing in order to continue seeing great results.
Correct.
So, talk to me about the major factors of on page, because that seems to, tell Google exactly what the page is about. What should a good web page have that's going to make it right?
I think it as much as anything, it needs to be honest and complete about a company. And you have to, at a base level now, a site has to be well architected. You have to have good flow. You have to have content that's applicable. You have to have anything that's detailed about your business that they can look at, and it's got to be, accessible. There are web content accessibility guidelines now that become very important for the disabled. And then you have to go, once you've got that good content out there, you have to make sure that you're registered with Google Webmaster Tools. You need to be able to look and test the site to see if there are any errors. It's easy to make errors that can hang there unless you go look for them. And you either can do that as yourself, the customer, or that's what we do for clients.
And as far as the off-page or the backlinking, what really moves the needle or gets authority to that web page that's going to have Google put it further up the search results? That's
a good question. The links have that's an external citation authority is a link. So a link from a newspaper is going to come to you that you're an expert in something. So if the linking site ranks highly, for example, Wall Street Journal, if you got a link in the Wall Street Journal that came back to you, that's going to be way more valuable than a link in a local newspaper. So anytime a page gains page rank when other pages link back to it, but you can say that not all links are created equal. Some are way more valuable than others. So I think the more authoritative you are, and the more you're considered an expert, if somebody does link to you and they've got an unauthoritative site, it's worth a lot more than if somebody that's lesser, that gets less traffic links to you.
And how is that all balanced out now? If somebody's got a higher domain authority or page authority, is that automatically going to outrank somebody with a lesser one?
That's one of the things you're not sure. I mean, Google used to make PageRank visible to users of what's called the Google toolbar. They don't now. So people now go look for domain authority and page authority, and they look, if somebody's got a citation out there about them and trust, they look at it. There's different tools you can measure that. So you try to evaluate the merits of a page and ranks and see how much it's going to help you. These are kind of guesstimates of how authoritative Google sees something, and so I think it's one of those where you do the best you can, and you may have really good links coming in there, and then something changes. So let's see, back in March, it's been going on for about a year and a half. Google's been pushing for sites to be connected securely via HTTPS as opposed to HTTP. So they announced earlier this year that sites viewed in Chrome starting in June that were not connected securely would be marked as non-secure in the Chrome browser. So, you may be doing a great job over here with backlinks, and boom, they have that. And those, you almost have to constantly be paying attention to the different things they deem important, and kind of, try to do the best you can on each one. And generally, if you do, you're going to start ranking pretty well, and you're going to start seeing improvements in your ranking.
And as far as the amount of backlinks to a web page, are we talking quality or is quantity better?
Quality for sure.
Excellent. All right. Well, as far as getting results, Don, how long does it take to get good results from search engine optimization?
We've had clients that ranking for your name and things like that happen pretty quickly. You can ask Google to index you through Google Webmaster Tools, and that will push it up a little bit. But generally, we tell a client not to expect much for maybe 6 months. You'll start seeing the needle move a little bit, depending, but you're looking for consistent application of new content. So we may, a client may say, hey, I want 4 pieces of content a month. That's 4 blog posts or 4 articles. We would say, fine, let's spread them out. Do 1 a week. Don't do all 4 1 week and then be dead for a month. Try to have a consistent flow. And if you do that, it depends on what you're trying to rank for also. If you think of a keyword as a word that somebody's going to search for your site. So if you sold shoes and you want to rank for shoes, that's going to be kind of hard. If you sold really, really long shoes for real certain particular, subset of the population, that's going to be easier to rank for. So that's a long tail keyword. And you have to kind of balance out where you're going to go. You can also go look and see, there's several different tools you can go use to see how your competitors might be ranking and what keywords they rank for. And so if you've got somebody that you want to be competing well against, you can go find some tools. We've got several tools that you can go analyze their sites and see what kind of traffic they're getting off of various keywords.
That's helpful to know. Now, as far as a local business, how important is it to feature in that map pack for a local business?
It depends on the type of business. Again, we've got some local construction companies that are friends that have sites that are many years old, and they don't care if they rank because they've got an established clientele that gets to them and knows how. If a business is newer or it's growing, or it's providing more of a B2C, a business to consumer product. Let's say it's a shoe store. It's a pizzeria. Somebody that needs to see, and you're just in an area, so you'll see. You're looking for something near you. You need to have some particular product you're trying to find near you. That becomes really important. And the searches, again, most people are picking up their cell phone to look, or getting a tablet or something to see where something is close to them that'll meet their immediate need.
Okay, so Don, what misconceptions are there out there about SEO?
I think we have a joke in our company that and this is many years ago, we had a client, he said, hey, that's easy. And he was somebody doing some programming, but we find that people think that it's not really easy. It takes a lot of thought, a lot of time to do it correctly. And so, it's not rocket science, but it's something that somebody can learn it themselves if they want to. If they put the time to it, they can start ranking for different things. But it's not. Sometimes it's not as easy as people might make it out to be.
Well, it's like exercise and getting in shape. It's not rocket science. You just got to move and you got to do it.
That's exactly right.
That's the thing with SEO. There's certain things that you have to do, but you have to do it. And that is oftentimes businesses' main problem, because after all, they're trying to run their business, aren't they?
That's correct. That's exactly right.
So give me some examples of a company that you have worked with, maybe that you have seen some great results. What kind of issues were they having when they came to you? What were you able to do for them? And what kind of results did they end up having?
Oh, there's just so many different ones. We've got a local physician who had split off from a different practice and asked us to build their site, which we did, and then to start doing some ongoing SEO. And they were, this was, 2 or 3 pieces of content a month. This was 20 social media posts a month. And over a period of 6 or 8 months, we began to see really great movement in their keywords, their keyword phrases. There's just so many different examples of people. We have real estate companies, construction companies that they view us more as their billboard that people go to find out what they do. We've been contacted by, and when we don't want to be specific, of course, but companies from around the country who've had a need to have certain things integrated in their websites. There may be a recurring membership component they need, and we've got expertise in a certain area, and they know that, so they come to us, and when we solve the problem for them, we try to make sure we really understand what somebody needs, to make sure we're well suited, because sometimes there's people that just have different needs that we might or might not be able to meet, that somebody else might be better. There are a lot of talented people out there, but we find that if we evaluate pretty heavily on the front end and get well equally yoked, that we do a good job for most people.
Very good. And so there's the basic foundation and the structure of the web page, and then there's the backlinking to get people or to give authority so that it ranks. So that's getting traffic to the site. What can you do, or what do you suggest to your clients to work on that conversion once somebody actually lands on the site?
That's a good question. It's the when they get there, what do you want them to do? Is it, do you want to pick up the phone and call you? Download a brochure, perhaps. If it's an online retail store, you may want to place an order. So the conversion is, getting the traffic is one thing, but if it doesn't bring somebody to you to help you make more money or to do whatever you're trying to accomplish, then it's it's a chain that's missing a link. So that's a good question each time, is what do you want to have happen with your visitor? Once he's there, what do you want him or her to do? And it's a lot of people get there, well, I'm not too sure. So that's something you kind of can help people think through. And you can measure things. You can measure, you can put a different phone number on there, so if a phone number came from an organic search versus just a direct phone call. You can obviously track downloads. You can track newsletter signups, for people that want to get more information about you. So the conversion is very critical.
So when people actually get to the search engine result page, they've still got, 10, 20 different sites that they can click on. How important is it to have that human aspect that's going to make somebody say, okay, this seems like a really good company to work with. I want to work with them.
Well, you have to, as far as I guess that's an authority question, is somebody an authority if you need to rank if you can on the first page. That's just the majority of the clicks come off that first page. They fall off dramatically unless somebody's really searching for something that's kind of maybe bizarrely specific, I guess. So once they're there, the authority may be obviously what they read on the site, but they also may say reviews are critical. People need to get reviews from other clients that are positive, and not all 5-star reviews necessarily, but that to make somebody click on one versus the other, it's going to be, is the message compelling? If they've got good reviews, good or bad. There's a lot of different things that, the same thing as if you walk into a department store, which one is it clean and is it neat, and does it have friendly people that, that are available? I had a physician we worked with say you have to be available. So you got to be on, it's got to be up. You got to be affable. You got to be, be kind. You have to be easy to talk to. And that's been a technical problem for some developers years ago, the kind of people that could be difficult and didn't need to be. And then once you got those two things, you have to be able. Can you do what somebody wants you to do? If they get there and you've got an empty toolbox, that doesn't do anybody any good. So you have to have all those components together to have a good chance of success.
And in the SEO industry, unfortunately, there's a bit of a reputation where businesses are getting spammed with emails, oftentimes from outside the country as well. Right. There is that reputation that there's a lot of spammers within the industry. So how do you determine which is the right company to go with?
That's a good question. I think that it's hard. Somebody may have it's not necessarily just budget related, but you have to really talk with somebody and see what they're trying to accomplish. Are they, for us, we say is a company reputable? Will they give you a reference? Will they give you some references of people they've worked with that you can talk to? That's always key for us is if our clients will say good things about us and somebody's go, okay, then that makes sense. if we're working with somebody and they don't choose us for whatever reason, which that happens, of course, you want to know what their key performance indicators are. What are you trying to measure? Because if you can't measure it, you can't track it. Mm-hmm. So if it's site visits, if it's conversions, we've seen some companies just offer this a multitude of information, all these different reports, and people think they're getting something, but at the end of the day, they want it to be simple and just something that they can say, yeah, we got more phone calls, or we got more orders, or the positive things they feel are coming from their site.
Well, ultimately, a business owner doesn't really care about the amount of traffic they're getting to the site or the amount of time somebody is spending on the site. They're worried about phone calls and profits, right?
Right. That's correct.
Yeah, great stuff. Well, Don, what questions should somebody be asking then if they're looking for a search, if they're looking for somebody to do search engine optimization for them?
I'd look at the things we've talked about today. Is look at a company's history and see who else they've served, and see if they've served somebody in their industry or not. As much as they'll be specific about references and the skill set they have, and make it. It needs to be explainable. We got an order yesterday from a new client, which we're very pleased for. But he said, "You're the first person that's explained this to me in simple type language." It's something, if you kind of walk back and forth through, it's a lot of it's common sense once you just get a little bit knowledgeable with it. Is the company near you or not? They don't have to be, but if they're, it's kind of like you said in construction. If you got 5 bids, you throw out the top one and the bottom one. There's a huge variety in what people will charge for the same service. So doing a bit of research is a good thing, and seeing what they want to. There's one item too that we touched on, though, that's going to become more and more important, is website accessibility for the disabled, and that's both in the web design and the ongoing process of updating a site. So that's something that you're going to start hearing a lot about.
Yeah, there seems to be a move from Google with the site security that we talked about, but as well as accessibility. What is going on with that?
Well, people who are blind or have vision difficulties need alternatives for perceiving words or images on a website. Mm-hmm. There's other things. If somebody's dyslexic, text may need to be spread out. But really what's happened is there's been content guidelines for accessibility for several years, but they've been loosely applied, and it's starting to get bumped up early this year. People who are under Section 508, which is federal websites, are subject to some new guidelines called, it's a mouthful, but it's a web content accessibility guidelines. They call it WCAG. The ADA was going to have some new rules about this. The Department of Justice has kind of pushed off on that. But all that being said, making the websites accessible it's a good thing to do. There's a big number of people who might struggle with a website, that if you can make it be where you can, you alt tag all your images, so that if somebody hovers over an image with a screen reader, it will say what the image is. That's important for search engine optimization, as well as so somebody can navigate the site. Somebody may need to be able to navigate the site with just a keyboard and not the mouse, and that takes a certain architecture. So that's a skill set that's not been emphasized among web developers. It is for really large companies, but we see that trickling down where in a few years, that's just going to be the standard. That's what people will do on new sites.
And do you see that being awarded by Google if a site does that, or maybe penalized if a site doesn't do that in the future?
You never know when they'll start adding something new to their algorithm, but correct architecture is already being rewarded, where they're looking for the correct title tags, H1, H2, H3, things that make a site more navigable. So that's already being rewarded, and I think that trend will only probably increase.
So what do you think, Don, of people that are trying to, build the sites themselves and maybe try and, rank the site themselves, a little bit about, keywords and backlinks and those kinds of things. can they achieve results on their own with all these new updates and algorithms?
Yeah, there's some do-it-yourself platforms that are really pretty good. I think if we focus on custom sites, and custom sites are a little bit more. They're not necessarily just a whole lot more, but if somebody has a lesser budget or they just have a knack for wanting to do that, there's a lot of people that can, if they'll take the time, they can certainly do that.
Excellent. So, Don, if somebody is looking for an expert to do their website or their SEO, how do they reach out to you?
We would be delighted to talk to them. We're More Tech Solutions. That's Moore. We're in Birmingham. And they could reach me at don@moretechsolutions.com. Phone number is 205-414-1902. And we'd be happy to speak with anybody. And we try to make sure we're a good fit. And if we're not, we can help people sometimes find, what they might need.
Mm-hmm. And of course, you're based in Birmingham, but do you do business outside of your area?
We've got clients really in all across the country. So it's, you're not really limited by distance in this business. So, we've got clients in California and Texas and North Carolina and Florida and Tennessee and Georgia and Pennsylvania. So no real limit on that.
Excellent. Well, Don Moore, thank you very much for all your information and advice today. Please reach out to Don at Mujer Tech Solutions if you are needing help with your SEO, if it's just not working for you. There's definitely processes to follow, and Don's been at this for a long time, so he knows what's going on. So reach out to Don. And Don, thank you very much for being my guest today on Business Authority Radio.
Neil, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
And to our listening audience, if you like what you hear, hit that like button and share, and we'll see you next time on the show.
You've been listening to Business Authority Radio with Neil Howe and Greg Williams. To learn more about the resources mentioned in today's show, or to listen to past episodes, visit businessauthorityradio.com.